Hey guys, I've been receiving a lot of questions recently about mag carriers, and it's a piece of information that wasn't included in the previous video that I did on the DIY Kydex mag carrier that came in 3 parts. But since then, I've been getting questions about how do I make the tension adjustable on those, because the one that we described in that video basically is just the magazine sandwiched between 2 pieces of Kydex. Now, if the magazine is the thickest part of the assembly, then there's really no way to adjust the tension on the fly. I described a process by which you could manually set the tension by sort of pinching the Kydex a little deeper than the magazine once it's all formed. But it's also possible to mold in some adjustability. Now, what we're going to do, I'm not going to go through the whole process all over again because a lot of it's going to overlap, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a method by which you can take a small block of wood, and by putting it next to the magazine as you make the mold, there'll be a gap here. And what you do is if you can put an adjusting screw in that gap, what will happen is that you can then cause the Kydex to pinch tighter than the depth of the magazine. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we go through this process. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the bench and we're going to show you how I set it up for this, and then we're going to make the mold. So here we are. We're getting this piece set up to get involved in making the mag carrier. And like I've said before, what you want to do is you want to secure the magazine to 1/2 of the Kydex. It'll help you for when you want to heat them both up simultaneously. You can heat this half with a heat gun and heat the other half in the oven, like I talked about in the other video. But at this stage, I've taken a piece of wood, and this is the kind of, it's just like a piece of trim that I use. I use this as part of also making the light channels as well. So if you're going to get like some sort of scrap wood that you want to use to make yourself jigs, you can use a piece in this process. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this piece of wood. I've smoothed it a little bit so it's not going to leave like a sharp, ugly edge. And I'm going to put it right here next to the magazine on the flat side, for instance, of this 1911 magazine. So what's going to happen is that as I mold these 2 pieces of Kydex together, I'm going to get a little gap here. And when I get that gap, I'm going to install a tensioning screw right there. So what I'm going to do, is just as easily as I would, install the magazine here, I'm just going to take another piece of little blue tape and hook that up right there. There are other folks who secure their magazines by using hot glue gun, and I've tried that. I don't have that quite down to a science yet. I tend to use a little more hot glue than I need to, and then you can see it through the back of the holster or the magazine when it gets all bunched up. But for now, this isn't a very complicated rig. I don't need to secure a bunch of things in here together. I'm just going to go ahead and use the blue tape. And then what I'm going to do is when we get back, both of these pieces will be coming out of the mold, and you'll be able to see it with the, both halves will be coming out of the mold, and you'll be able to see the little indentation that we've made here. And while I might not necessarily be describing the mechanism perfectly, once you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So here we are, the mold's come out of the press. Now let me just bring it up here, show you what's going on. As you can see, we've molded it so that this block of wood has placed a little gap in here in the side between the magazine and the Kydex. So obviously we've got, just sort of mickeyed up together, we've got this this level of retention here. But if I were to apply pressure here, we can actually increase the retention. So what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate this into the design of the holster, and we're going to put a little screw in this spot right here so we can incorporate this adjustability into the holster, so you can fine-tune the retention on the fly and dial it up as tight as you like. And when we get back, we'll have this cut and drilled, and we'll show you the next step. So here we go, it's all riveted together. I want to show you the construction that I used to set this guy up here. And what I did is I have a Phillips head screw. I have a Phillips head screw in the front. I have an unflared rivet inside so that you can't conceivably press it down to the point where you start to crack things. The rivet itself will bottom out against the back face of the Kydex. And then I just have the back end of the Chicago screw here with a little O-ring in it. So you can see that it's really easy to adjust, and you can do this with a flathead if you want, in case you want to be able to like adjust it in an emergency with like a key or a shell casing or what have you. But I like the look of the Phillips head, and so you can see that we can adjust the retention. This is a loaded Wilson Combat mag, and so we can have a certain easy amount of retention on that draw, or we can take this guy, we can crank it down nice and tight. And the rivet will bottom out against the back face of the Kydex to prevent it from causing a stress fracture, and then you can get a much more substantial retention. And this holster's not entirely done yet. I am going to flare this open a little bit. However, yeah, you can get a very substantial retention out of this guy. I'll just feed this back in like that. There we go. Yeah, that's very firm, and it's not going anywhere at all. So very strong indeed. So that's just a little quick tutorial on how to add adjustable retention to your mag carriers. Dial that guy back out a little bit, and this one is much lighter, you can see, where you can dial it back up. You can feel it bottom out in there, and it's not going anywhere. Real solid. So go forth, add features to your gear, and enjoy your new skills and new technology.